Hey, round three of owning and accepting yourself. So, I am actually everything that I'm talking about is work that I've done personally. So, I am going to give all of you a window view or a front seat row, actually, I should say, of my journey and how I am my first client. And doing this work has taught me the skills to be able to teach you. So most of you know, if you're new here, that's totally fine. I'm going to give you a very short recap. I experienced a lot of trauma growing up, and a lot of the trauma was out of my control, and things happened to me that I I didn't have control over. However, I carried a lot of shame and guilt around it. I also am neurominority. And so I spent a lot of trying to hide who I was from the world. And I tried to mask and cover up deep parts of myself that make me who I am. I was taught that I was wrong and fundamentally wrong, right? That I was made wrong because of the way my brain worked. A lot of these things, so I was neurominority in the fact that my brain was made with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and ADHD. And then I also experienced PTSD, which was a neurominority that was caused by trauma, right? So what I did was I went through this process of journaling, and it took me a while, you guys. It took me a while of journaling, and I journaled about my life. I journaled about the experiences that I've had. I journaled about the thoughts that I had about those experiences. I journaled about all of the things that was told to me about me. I decided what was real and what was told of me. And some of the information that I had in my subconscious mind was old and outdated and didn't serve me anymore. I journaled about my life up until the present. And then I journaled about the present. I journaled about being a widow and what was that? That was what that was like for me and that experience, and what it was like right before my husband's death, during the death, and right after the death. And then I took myself out of the equation and I looked at all of it not as me being emotionally tied to the story, but me reading it as if I was reading someone's life story, right? And I started to get really uncomfortable physically, really uncomfortable. I started writing and journaling about who I was today and all of the thoughts about myself. What did I like? What kind of have you ever seen the runaway bride? I asked myself questions like, well, what kind of eggs do you like? What color is your favorite color? What's your favorite movie? I asked myself all these questions. And I noticed that I was physically and emotionally getting very uncomfortable. I started writing about who I want to be. And I realized that there were a few things that were tripping me up from being who I wanted to be. And that was I was not fully accepting my past. I was not fully forgiving the people in my past. More importantly, the hardest thing was forgiving myself, allowing that space for all of it to be there. And I got so uncomfortable physically, emotionally. I kept standing up and walking around, and I had this thing in my stomach. And I kept trying to tap into that and tap into that and ask myself, what is it? I realized that I was resisting my feelings. So then I thought, okay, I'm just going to open up to it. I went to go into the bathroom. I was upstairs in my office upstairs. I have two, one down here you guys see, and then I have a desk in my office upstairs. And I went to go to the restroom, and I thought maybe I'm gonna dry heave. I'm gonna throw up. And the next thing I know, I was on my bathroom floor, curled in a ball, wailing. Y'all, I was guttural crying, and sounds were coming out of me that I had never heard before. I was allowing and processing the hardest feelings. I was opening up to and accepting parts of myself and parts of my story that I didn't want to before, because I looked at it as baggage. I looked at it as something was wrong with me. I looked at it as something to be ashamed of. But allowing it all to be there and accepting it and getting that guttural cry out, it felt like I wanted to crawl out of my skin. I'm not going to lie to you. It felt horrible. And then when it was all done and I had processed through all of it, I picked myself up off the floor and I sat back down at my desk, making the sounds and crying. And I wrote down, who do I want to be? How do I want to own myself? How do I want to show up in this world? How do I want to show up for me and for the people that I love? And I realized how in love with myself I was and how much space that left for me to put that love out there. I'm a hopeless romantic, and I own that. And I use that as my superpower. All of the things that have ever happened to me happened for a reason, because I wouldn't be here today talking to you. I would be too embarrassed to let you know that I was on my bathroom floor, guttural crying with sounds coming out of my mouth that I didn't know were possible. Because I own it. You can too. I can help. I love you.